And welcome back to another Epidose of these crazy people that eat all this meat all the time and won't stop talking about it. Today I got my usual suspect with me, Justin, and we have a special guest. Our special guest is Charmaine. We almost kind of sort of met her at Adapt Long Beach / LA. I think it was actually listed as Adapt LA, but it was in Long Beach, and we got to hang out with Sean down there, and we met Dr. Eric Westman and Carl Napi. Is that his name?
Naki? Kanaki?
Kanapi. And then I forgot the other guy's name already. But anyways.
Brian Sanders and
Brian Sanders.
Dr. Gary Schleifer.
Yeah. All right.
And Rachel Gregory.
That's right, Rachel Gregory. Yeah, I liked her presentation. Anyway.
Yeah.
Me too.
And her book. I haven't had a chance to read it. I bet you Justin hasn't had a chance to read it yet either.
No.
We'll get on
too many
that.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, too many books.
I still have to get through the Carnivore Code. And then Sean's book.
Yeah, and Sean's book. So why don't our special guest tell us what she does, what her specialty is, and why she was there at Adapt Keto Adapt conference.
Yeah, I'm not sure which order it is too. I switch it around. But I'm Charmaine. I'm a sugar cravings coach. So many people ask me, what does that mean? So it's sugar cravings coach. So basically I have an online coaching business where I help people, especially if they're interested in a diet like keto or carnivore where there's no sugar, like paleo. And I'm helping them wean off of the sugar by managing their mindset around cravings by using a technique called cognitive behavioral therapy. It's an actual evidence-based therapeutic technique for things like depression. Oh, Justin, I'm sure you know all about it. He probably does this all the time, but it could actually be used for food. So I use that to help people not want sugar, so it doesn't feel like a tug of war willpower fight with food anymore.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's
sorry.
Probably a very popular topic, right? I mean, sugar cravings. When you're going keto, carnivore, caveman, primal, it's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think to anybody, because I think the general public can all agree. If there's something we can agree on with food, which I know is hard to find an agreement, but I think the one thing in common that any diet has is to reduce the processed sugar. Like that's the number one thing anyone could agree on. But everybody struggles with it. Even people who have been on keto or carnivore for a while, sometimes like cravings can still be triggered. And that's what I help people do. Like notice what their triggers are and have the tools to manage that without using food as a way to manage any problems you might be having.
Yeah, I can see there's a big need for that. In fact, our friend Emily she was doing a podcast last night with another friend, Pam, and that's exactly the topic they were covering too. So we're waiting for that to come out. So I could imagine that, well, obviously, I've done some coaching too, and almost anybody who's entry level, that's going to be like one of the first questions is, well, I mean, just bring up the diet, and the first thing people say, I can't give up bread. What? I can't have chocolate. How am I going to do this?
All the time.
Yeah. Peanut butter.
Yeah, and they don't. It's also just like not knowing too that a lot of foods have a lot of hidden sugars, and also that the refined grains and the flours also, like, they all turn into the same thing when you eat it, but people don't know that, and they're all thinking, oh, it's a whole grain, it's healthy. So it's a lot of food education too, and trying to dispel a lot of the things we've been taught about food since we're young in 3rd or 4th grade.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this all started before we were born. So, everybody's indoctrinated with it. You got to eat lots of health healthy, heart healthy, whole grains,
Hey.
the old food
And-
pyramid, that should be the base of your nutrition. And then you find out, well, it's bad for your teeth. We know that.
Right.
And then it seems to be raising everybody's blood sugar, which is causing their insulin to spike. And then I just listened to that book, Sapien, if you listen to that one. And the author's
I got
talking
lots of
about
reasons.
how wheat basically domesticated us, like
Ooh,
it's the
that's
most successful
interesting.
plant in the history of the world because it got human beings to cultivate it, move it around the planet, keep it going. And he talked about the
Oh,
sheer
wow.
vastness of how much wheat has been grown and how much is grown at any time and how much of all the farmland it takes up, right? And you can't naturally grow wheat the way we grow it. In fact, a lot of the early wars were based on the fact that they overused the land. They couldn't grow wheat on it anymore, so they had to go take somebody else's land to grow more wheat. And
Oh,
that
geez.
drove the war cycle for a long time. And then now we have chemical fertilizers that kind of remedies that to some degree. But yeah, so we have that relationship, and that wheat has that sort of dopamine response from that on the brain that we don't even realize is happening. That's why we love bread. That's why the smell of fresh bread is so intoxicating, so alluring,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So how'd you get
Right.
started on this?
Oh, so what got me started on this journey was, well, in November 2017, I just remember the date. In that time, I was a personal trainer. I'm also a Spartan SGX coach, like the Spartan race coach. So I was
Wow.
coaching on that before. I've done like all the races. I've done like, half marathon, full marathon, ultra marathon with obstacles. I've done 60-hour races in the middle of nowhere, Vermont, where we're hiking in the middle of the night kind of thing. And all these challenges, I was super fit. I was doing CrossFit 4 to 5 times a week. And yet,
Wow.
even though I looked amazing, I was super strong. All my abs were there and all that. In November 2017, I did my routine lab tests, and I was pre-diabetic. And so, and I'm a nurse. Like, I work in the hospital. I take care of patients. Like, on the side, I still work as a nurse, as a psychiatric nurse at UCLA. So I take care of patients who have diabetes. They have holes in their feet. They have ulcers and sometimes amputations. And so, being pre-diabetic was like a little terrifying. So, and plus it's also in my
Yeah.
family too.
Oh.
So, and in being Filipino, I feel like the Filipino community especially has a lot of diabetes in the family, and you hear of people whose parents have died from complications of diabetes. So, it kind of scared me a little bit, just a little bit. So I was like, what the hell? Like, why is my A1C like this high? I couldn't believe it. So I finally looked at my diet because I knew that was the only thing I had been ignoring. I was in the mentality of like, oh, you could work out anything. You could, if you work out a lot, you could eat whatever you want. Like, that mentality is still
Mm-hmm.
very, very much like persistent in the fitness world, like especially
Sure.
with racing and CrossFit, high intensity stuff. People are always like hashtag race to eat or whatever. So,
Oh, wow. You can tell I'm not a
yeah,
runner.
it's a big thing. But yeah, so it just really opened my eyes. I'm like, wow, I think I gotta change how I eat. So yeah, I went in January 2018 and never looked back since.
Very nice. So what kind of changes did you see in your blood sugar and your A1C?
So I was keto like January 2018, and then in June of the same year, I checked my labs again, and it went down to like 5.6. It wasn't a huge decrease, and I was pretty like strict with my keto. The only thing was I was eating like baked goods and stuff still, and I was still eating like things with fake, like artificial sweeteners.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of keto. I mean, I'm not trying to distinguish, but I was like eating like a lot of baked goods with artificial sweeteners and stuff,
Hey,
and
we've all
almond
been
flour. So,
Mhm.
right. And so but my triglycerides and my HDL was really good though. My
Yeah.
triglyceride was like 36. It was like the lowest I've ever seen. My HDL was like 90 something,
What?
98.
That's
So I was
good.
like, yeah, for HDL, something like that, 96, 98.
It's only got to
I
you
think the
get to
exercise
like
level.
40 and up is good. Yeah. So you'll
Oh, that's
double good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really happy, but the A1C just was so persistent. So I was like, something's still not right. So
Mm-hmm.
then I became like, I really did more research. I became a life and weight loss coach in August of 2018. I really looked at food and I was like, oh, I'm eating a lot of sweetener stuff. So I really went just like real food there.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm kind of looking into more like keto carnivore. It's really just all I eat. Like I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank since Thanksgiving of 2018. I haven't eaten something like a baked good for a long time. So yeah, it's like just really real foods now. And
Mm-hmm.
just yeah,
That's the good and the
I
bad of
like meat a
keto.
lot, so I was like, this is
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. If you like meat, you're talking to the right people.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I like to say that in keto that the the almond bread and the fat bombs are the good and the bad because they give people hope that they can make it on that diet before they try it because they see, oh well, I can eat some almond bread or some cloud bread or whatever, and there's artificial sweeteners, there's erythritol and xylitol and stevia. I've never tasted anything with stevia in it that I could stand, but I was just got off the phone with a guy that I'm coaching right before this, and he's talking about stevia this, stevia that, and I'm like, I don't know, man. You should just go for a week without it and see what happens because he's having problems. But people get on it, and then I think they make some progress, they plateau, and then they realize they got to give that stuff up. And of course, they never tell you about things like oxalates. Almonds are rich in oxalates. So that's not good for a lot of people. A lot of people just don't eliminate oxalates fast enough. So I have an autistic group, and for whatever reason, we don't even know why autistic people typically have alarmingly high levels of oxalates. There's a trend among them that's probably genetically based where they just don't eliminate oxalates, they don't eliminate mercury and stuff like that. So everybody's always pointing those substances as culprits, but I think they're really just side effects of the other conditions. So yeah, but you don't know that when you first get into keto. Nobody talked about oxalates back 3 years ago. So now everybody's talking about them.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
I haven't
awesome.
heard that word since like I only heard of oxalates like this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're quite the athlete, huh? CrossFit, long runs, hikes.
Before,
Spartan.
not so
Jeez.
much anymore, but like before.
That's awesome. Well, it's good. I mean, because you're probably good and young too. So like in the beginning, you got into shape, and then you could tolerate a lot more. And then, as we get older, we realize, yeah, diet's a little more important than I thought. As youth starts slipping away. So, but I'm 49 now, and I was telling people like I'm stronger now than I was when I was 29 for sure.
Oh
And
wow.
I've only been back to the gym less than a year. So probably like 10 months now, I started lifting again, and I'm setting PRs. So the only PR I haven't broken is the bench press so far, but it's been really rapid. And I stopped because of arthritis. My arthritis was really bad. And
Oh wow.
that was almost 10 years ago. I stopped going to the gym. So I took like 10 years off, and I just went back, and I'm blowing my PRs out of the water. So it's good stuff.
Man,
Diet is got to be.
congratulations.
What do you, if you had to sum it up, would be, health in general, would you say like diet's 50%, exercise is 50%, or is it 75% one way or the other? What would you guess?
I mean, before I thought working out was like 100%, but now I'm just like, now that I have learned. Oh, I forgot to say, I tested my labs in February 2020 this year, and now my hemoglobin A1C is 5.0. Like
Very good.
mostly with diet, like I'm not working out nearly as much as I used to, so it really isn't like exercise isn't the most important thing. But yeah, I would say now it's literally like diet. I feel like diet's like 90% and like working out is like 10%. Like I feel like movement's important for like doing your daily functions and being healthy in general, but when I teach my clients about weight loss, it's just not the most exercise isn't like a very fast way to do it. It's just like the diet is the number one thing that affects your weight. I feel like the quickest thing to affect your
Oh,
weight.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you
And
100%. It's like 90% is diet, 10% is exercise. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
and I think we all know this. I mean, everyone knows it takes like 3 hours on a treadmill to burn off a donut, you know? So it's like, you know, what are you doing? And there's certain gyms, I won't name them because I ain't throwing shade because I go there. But there's certain gyms that, you know, on like I think Sunday nights they offer pizza, and it's like you're destroying everyone's workout. Like that's
Purple
clearly
Planet. Is that what we're talking about?
Purple Planet, right? That's what we call it, Purple Planet. You
Yes.
know, and then like I think Tuesdays they have like bagels and coffee, and I have a friend that I'd go with on Tuesday mornings. He'd always grab the bagel on the way out. I'm like, dude, you just
So it's really real. The rumors are true. Like it's really like I've heard the stories, but geez, Louise.
No, I've had people try to talk me into going to that gym because they're like, it's really affordable and they have food sometimes. They'll have pizza. There's nothing better than working out and then slamming some pizza. I'm like,
Oh
yeah,
my
pizza at the
gosh.
gym?
Oh, that's so crazy. Oh my God, I can't even. That's crazy.
yeah.
It works.
And
It gets people in the door. Our buddy Brett lives down in Florida. He got in great shape and he goes to Planet Purple and doesn't eat the pizza there. So he's a carnivore. So he's able to resist the temptation. So
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's what I teach people too. Like a lot of women, especially, like all my clients are women, and they're so many of them are stuck in that kind of restrictive diet mentality of like you know, they're first of all they're afraid to eat fat. They're like
right,
terrified of meat.
right.
It's so
They
like
would rather eat coconut
frustrating.
oil than a ribeye.
Yeah, I'm like,
Right?
what? Are you crazy? Oh my gosh. Or they have to hold on to their smoothies. They're so like they love their smoothies, but I mean I don't blame them. I mean nothing's wrong with them for that. It's just what they've kind of what we've been taught
It's what we
since
all
we're young.
believed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I had every single day when my A1C was 5.9. I had avocado toast, protein shake,
Mhm.
like every day. And then I had Greek yogurt, salad with like nothing, like air in it, like cranberries. and then I just starved to death all day and ate cookies at work. So that didn't work. But yeah, it's just a lot of it is trying to help, especially women, just be comfortable with eating like more nutrient dense foods and like not being afraid of fat. That's like one of the most important things because it's just you're not eating enough. Like it's a lot of
You should
it's
meet
just you're not eating enough.
our pal Emily. Will be having these videos, and she'll be snacking on frozen cubes of beef fat, raw beef fat. And she's 5'8". She's about $125, and she lost 100 pounds in 10 months.
Wow.
All she does
Oh
is
my
eat.
gosh.
All she does is eat beef, right? And fat.
Oh.
She was
Oh, that's incredible.
she was bedridden with MS, and she was bipolar.
Oh, shush. Oh my gosh.
And then she couldn't work or anything, and now she's back on her feet. She's 100%. And and so this is why I do these videos, because these stories are my stories. Not, I mean, I had arthritis and it went away, right? And I went back to the gym. It's not that amazing, really, but we meet people like this all the time. Justin here battled migraines for a long time. They're debilitating. Our friend Brett, he was on the verge of being committed for his depression. He had been
Ooh.
suffering depression for like 30 years and turned
Oh
it
my
around.
gosh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like these really amazing stories out there, you know. So that's why we do these videos. Like we like talking to people like you, because you've got experience helping people out there, just meeting goals. But you know, we know now, like if you've got a high A1C and you've got high glucose, you're going to have high insulin, and that could cost you a foot, or you could go blind. You could be shooting expensive insulin and taking all kinds of metformin and stuff the rest of your life. And that's not a way to live, right?
No, and then they go on to get dialysis and they're blind and oh my God, it's just
Sad.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy. And so my mission really with my coaching, like my number one mission it's not so much about weight loss, it's more just about raising awareness of pre-diabetes and diabetes and helping people reverse that, because it's just like so crazy. Like it was so mind-boggling to me that I felt like I was doing everything right and like my labs like sucked. And I was so mad as a nurse. I was like, my labs like sucked. And I was like so ashamed. I was like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah,
you know, like a lot of nurses too don't know this stuff. So
sure.
a lot of people assume, like a lot of nurses will tell me, oh, your labs must be good because you work out all the time. And I'd be getting this message in my head and it just wasn't true. And that was very disappointing.
I had the same experience. I was working out 5 days a week before work. I was
Oh,
doing weights and
geez.
cardio. My labs were gradually getting worse. I was still getting heavier. My appetite was crazy. It didn't matter how much whey isolate I choked down, and how many chicken breasts I had on a pile of brown rice, or how much spinach I ate. I just got
Oh, yeah,
sicker and
spinach.
sicker and more after. I believed if you ate an apple a day, it would keep the doctor away. But I could literally eat an apple in the morning on the way to work in the car, and my joints would hurt worse after eating an apple. Like it was causing
Ah.
joint inflammation from eating an apple. You think, oh, apples are good for you, right? How could it possibly be bad? But I was literally like following the guidelines, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, eating only lean meat. I was preparing all my own food. I ate very little fast food, or ate out very little and I was getting, and I wasn't, when that started, I was probably in my 30s or something like that. And by the time I
Oh.
was 45, about 40, 44, 45. I woke up one morning, I couldn't even turn a doorknob because my arthritis was so bad. And I had stopped working out because I couldn't lift weights anymore. When you can't turn a doorknob, you can't hold on to a dumbbell, right?
Probably shouldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
I got so heavy
Yeah.
that the treadmills would stop all the time. I'd be on the treadmill and the belt would just stop, and I'd just go flying into the control panel and then
Oh,
bounce off. And then the belt would
ouch.
start again. It
Oh
happened
my
so many
God.
Oh,
times.
shit.
Jeez,
And
were
you're
you
like,
okay? Like, oh my God, did you?
I am
That
now.
sounds scary. Oh God.
No,
Okay. Oh my
the
God.
lady on the machine next to me one day started crying because she saw this.
What?
She saw me go flying off this thing. And it's just like one of those YouTube fail videos. Only it's me at the gym. And she saw me hit the floor, and then try to get up, and I look up, and she just tears just rolling down her face. She's like, oh my God, I wanted to help you and I didn't know what to do, and I feel so bad. And I'm like, I do it all the time. It's how these things work. So yeah, I mean, a lot of us try really hard and think we're doing the right thing, and then there's some obvious signs that things aren't going well. The doctor can't help you, the gym can't help you.
Mm.
You got to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
oh, I'm good. So my mom was a salad woman like all her life, and like I only saw her get like bigger and more doctor's appointments and more medications across time.
Mm.
So like it's really crazy. And myself, I was gluten-free, dairy-free for a long time, which kind of helped the migraines, but like I was still having grains. There's gluten-free grains, and
Mm.
everyone thinks, oh, it's gluten-free, it's all good and all that stuff, but like they're just as bad. They affect your sugar the same way. They can still mess with your gut. It's still a plant food. And so I wanted to ask with you, when you were working out a lot, were you doing like 4,000 calories of pizza, like whatever you thought, like it was game on, you could just eat whatever you want? Or like, did you fall into any other fads? Did you ever go more plant-based? Yeah, I'm just kind of curious.
Well, when I was training a lot, honestly, it was just like what I was saying. It was just like I had protein shakes a lot. There's this one point where I drank so much damn protein shakes. It was sickening. But yeah, I had a lot of protein shakes, avocado toast with an egg every day. And gosh, I feel so weird saying this out loud. I haven't said this in a long time. And then gosh, what else did I have? That was my breakfast, and then
My ex-wife used to complain about all the egg whites. She's like, how can you eat that stuff? It looks like snot. And I'm like, but it's good for me. It's going to make me strong and healthy.
oh gosh, oh man, she knew something was up with that. Something suspicious.
Maybe I should have listened to her that one time.
And yeah, and then at it was mostly I honestly don't know what I ate at home. I just ate what my parents cooked. It's like Filipino food, but it's like a lot of rice and meat mostly. And then at work, sorry?
Balut? Duck eggs?
Oh no, not that. I do not like any of the weird food. I'm like, I can't. Although I'd probably be open to it more now. Maybe I'd be like curious. But hey, now yeah, I wouldn't mind it. But but like
You first.
But yeah, and at work that's where I ate a lot of gosh, I just never cooked. I hated cooking. So like I ate a lot of Subway sandwiches with potato chips, and then I'd be like starving after work, so I would eat McDonald's chicken McNuggets with filet of fish. That was my go-to.
Sure.
And so I
Especially on
always had
Fridays.
yeah, I had that like on all my work days, so at least three days of the week. So I don't think I was just hungry all the time.
Yeah, me too.
I was always like snacking at work too, just a lot of cookies, whatever was in the break room. That's a whole nother story with the hospital, but yeah, like cookies and cakes and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. We've all been there, unfortunately. Yep. So these days, how much coaching do you do? It's mostly.
Oh, you
online.
mean like with the nursing and?
Well, I think we mean your online business. How much coaching are you doing with that? Is that what you meant, Tom? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't clear.
Oh, so I have one-on-one clients right now, and I just coach. Like I only work in the hospital like once or twice a week, so the rest of it's just dedicated to coaching. So I work from home, and yeah, I like just coach people just like what we're doing like on Zoom.
Yeah, that's good. Zoom seems to be the platform that most people use, which is handy, especially for making videos.
Yes. So awesome.
So since you said you're a psychiatric nurse, have you ever seen the YouTube videos with Dr. Chris Palmer? Oh yeah, I'll have to send you the links because he's a psychiatrist at see it from Harvard. I think he's from Harvard.
I think he is Harvard. Yeah.
Yeah, and he put one of his patients way back when on the Atkins diet, and he was a schizophrenic, and he couldn't believe how much the guy improved.
Oh,
and
wow.
So he's been using like a meat-based, more or less, diet with a lot of his patients now, and seeing a lot of. And it kind of gets into they've known for a long time that a lot of those psychiatric medications actually put weight on people and kind of wreck their metabolism, And he was talking about how they've known since before we were born that it'll raise like the lactate levels in the brain and seems to be causing insulin resistance in the brain and on and on. And by reversing that, people seem to need a lot less medication and seem to be a lot more normal. So, and we see very similar things in the autistic community. Have you seen the Magic Pill movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see a lot of that, the same kind of thing with the autistic community, even A lot of autistic people have digestive issues. So
Mhm.
taking out the fiber tends to help a lot of people quite a bit. So by not having to eat spinach or, whatever leafy greens and stuff, a lot of people seem to do even better. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Even
So
just like the leafy greens there would be some kind of like, would that cause some kind of behavioral issues with
uh
children with autism or something
it
like that?
seems to cause more intestinal distress,
Oh,
particularly in the large intestine.
oh my gosh.
So yeah, so if you notice, a lot of autistic kids have kind of distended bellies, and they tend to grab their stomach a lot, just like in the movie, and they tend to be really sensitive to this food or that food. And when they go on meat-based diets, they a lot of those sensitivities seem to go away, and digestion seems to normalize, and they tend to be a lot calmer. And some of them actually kind of, because autistic people tend to sort of regress into their own little world. They tend to come out and make contact a little bit more readily. So there's something going on there that we don't quite know. And of course, the symptoms vary widely from person to
Mm.
person. So, but it does seem to help quite a bit. In fact, we find parents more and more frequently, they get their kids to try it. A lot of them are old enough to kind of make choices, and then they try it for a little while and they go off, and then they want to go back because they realize how much better they felt. So
Oh,
there's some very positive feedback there that kind of helps, because most autistic people are very picky eaters.
yeah.
So so that's a big challenge working through that. So
Yeah, I could
anyhow,
Uh,
imagine.
go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
yeah. So you said you use like a cognitive behavioral sort of method with your clients. So like, where are you at with it as far as like you're focusing on the negative thoughts, which leads to the trigger or the event, then the negative thoughts, then the food, and then the release. And are you getting into like schema and core beliefs? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, so I try to explain it in a way that's just very simple. So I teach it with a 5-step tool that we call the model. And basically, the most important thing, like the foundation of this thing called cognitive behavioral therapy, and I always kind of hated the name because it sounds like this like science experiment thing, and like just like what is that? But the main principle behind that is that it's a type of therapy where you basically recognize that your thoughts create your feelings and your feelings drive your actions. So that's like the main principle. But the way that I teach it is you identify your situation, like your circumstance. So your circumstance that you're in, any situation you're in will trigger a thought. And then that thought you have will create a feeling. So especially when we talk about food, we want
Mm-hmm.
to identify what thoughts do you have that create desire for sugar or for any food, because you could be snacking. Like I snacked so much before on almonds. Like I was literally addicted to almonds before I tried carnivore. So it was the only thing that helped me stop like not like eating almonds, like overeating almonds so consistently.
And let
But
me ask you, when you eat a lot of almonds, did you notice any digestive issues? Did you ever get a
yeah.
heartburn or anything? Does it,
Oh
you eat
yeah.
too many almonds, and it's like your digestive tract just comes to a screeching halt. It's like, what do you want me to do with all these almonds? Stop setting them down.
Yeah, and I had no idea it was that destructive. I was like, oh my gosh. Like when I
Yeah.
realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's the nuts. And it was so like mind blowing to me. I never even knew. I'd never even thought to look at nuts until I listened to something by Megan Ramos from the fasting
Oh
method.
yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, like you really just look at like what thoughts are you having that create desire for that food. And when you have desire, it drives you to eat the food. Like your
Mm.
feelings drive your actions. So, and then your actions, the last part of it is your actions create your results. So it's basically helping you see that, like when you step back, like it's helping you see that food is never tempting you. And I know that a lot of people have that idea like, oh, the sugar's tempting me, and oh, you know, it's there, I gotta have it. But what's really happening is, you know, I mean, well, there's a lot of things happening in that moment. It's kind of a lot, but part of it is that you're creating desire for it because you're thinking that it's desirable. Like you're thinking that it's something you want. Because if you look at an onion on a table, you'll just be like, oh, a piece like an onion, you know? It's just like you have certain associations with food that you create and reinforce every time you think that. So I teach them that 5-step process, how to identify when they desire food, and then how to shift their thought about the food so they don't create the desire for it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, onions are terrible, except when they're on a 4x4 grilled at In-N-Out.
Oh my gosh, that sounds good.
Yeah, we're all from Southern
way.
California, so we could talk In-N-Out talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin and I will go hit the In-N-Out once in a while, and it's 4x4s.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds good. I always get the double singles, actually. I would get like 2 of them, but I think 4x4 would actually be better.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll do the Flying Dutchman. So and they'll put grilled onions on that too. So, but In-N-Out's probably my only source of vegetables. I get a lettuce wrap 4x4 or a Flying Dutchman with grilled onions. That's all my vegetables. So.
So do you still, any of you still eat vegetables at all, or it's really just, you know, once a year, or how do you like?
Not really.
Do that?
I had a broccoli
a broccoli
like 3 months ago, and it hurt my stomach. Like that's the interesting thing. Like I did not feel good. Like I legitimately had a reaction to broccoli, which before going carnivore, I could eat it and be completely fine, you know, salt, pepper, broccoli. Like I was doing it all the time. I used to do stir fries with broccoli and kale and all that stuff, you know, a couple of years ago. Totally fine. Never noticed it messed with me. But now, like, yeah, no, that's the last vegetable. Like, beside, like I said, like Thomas says, the lettuce wrapped on a 4x4. Besides that, that is the last time I think I had a vegetable. It was 3 months ago.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, awesome.
I stopped eating vegetables over 2 years ago. So.
Oh, just flat, and oh, wow.
I tried carnivore in some time towards the end of 2017. I know for like a month, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But I still had lots of keto stuff around. So I'm like, well, let me go back to keto and compare it, you know? And I did the keto for, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks. And I was like, yeah, I don't feel as good. And that was it. Never looked back. So I think there's still some frozen cauliflower, minced cauliflower, whatever. What's that chopped up cauliflower stuff? I think there's still some in the freezer somewhere I saw. But throughout the coconut oil and all that stuff, you realize that, you know, you're like, the coconut oil and the palm oil is more saturated than the beef and the pork fat, you know? And I noticed like my digestion wasn't as good when I ate things like that. I mean, I love the MCT oil with some coffee or something. Nothing wakes you up better than that. But at the same time, a little bit too much MCT oil, and you're going to be in trouble. So creates other problems, shall we say. I think they call it disaster pants. That's what they call it.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I love the little biohacking stuff, but after a while, you're just like, oh, I just eat meat and I feel great. And a lot of us eat raw meat. I know that's that's taboo. You're going to die of some sort of food poisoning or something, but a lot of us eat raw meat a lot of the time. I usually eat like one raw steak a day, and then everything else is cooked. So
I'm curious, like, because, you know, I'm kind of new to this, but why do you prefer raw meat?
it digests better. Like, have you ever gone out and just had like sashimi, just like a pile of bluefin or something? And if you just eat that, you're just like, wow, I ate like a pound of meat and I feel great. And there's you don't feel stuffed ever. There's never any acid reflux. There's never any like bloating or anything. You just did this, like, we call it clean. We just feel like we're doing this clean digesting, effortless digesting, and eating a nice cut of, I mean, today I ate tri-tip steak. It's a little on the tough side, maybe, but I cut it into small pieces and ate it. And it's to me, it feels like the same thing. It's a very similar taste. I know people, my friend loves to go fishing. And if I tell him the bluefin and, New York strip raw taste about the same, he wants to throttle me. But that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So.
Oh, wow. Do
And
you eat raw food too, Justin? Sorry, I'm just like
What's up?
fascinated by that.
Yeah, so I do a lot of blue rare. We did do one of our videos is actually called Carnivores Gone Raw.
Some like it
and
raw.
on that, some like it raw. That's right.
Racy
Ooh.
title.
Yeah, and in that video is my first time eating a whole steak raw. In that video,
Okay.
and the next day I felt great. Like it went down great, and I had a little bit for breakfast before hitting the gym the next day. A little bit of raw steak, and I hit the gym like so hard. It was like effortless, like no energy drain at all. I went to work right after,
Oh my
it was,
gosh.
so what I've been wanting to try to do is to do raw before the gym. My theory is that might give you a performance boost doing raw before the gym. And we were actually talking earlier today about how, like, how you're not supposed to eat late because it kind of messes with you, cooked food and stuff. So we've been playing with the idea, or at least theorizing, that if you do have to eat late, maybe you should try to eat raw before going to bed, so it's easier on the digestion.
Oh my gosh. Oh, interesting.
Well, and our buddy Ray noticed that when he ate raw meat late in the day, he spent more time in deep sleep. And like it's a repeatable experiment. Yeah. So there's no, like, if you go and you look for the science, all you'll find out is that raw meat is slightly more nutritious than cooked meat. That's all that the studies show, right? Slightly, right? But for some reason, we feel better when we eat raw meat. We digest it better. We perform better in the gym. And you're an athlete. I mean, it's like when you're eating carbs, you go hit it hard, and those muscles can really hurt the next day or the day after, right? I never get that anymore. I can barely tell the next day. Like if I do a really hard arm workout, I could tell I did something, but I don't have that pain in the middle of the muscle anymore.
Oh, wow.
And when I eat raw meat, and so usually I eat it in the morning, or and then I go to the gym in the afternoon, I notice I just perform better. And if I think there's something actually to cooked fat is a little bit harder to digest for some reason. We don't know why, but we've all kind of experienced it. And in fact, I got a little bit of indigestion last night for the first time, and I was doing podcasts really late. I ate like 9:30 and 10. I ate some ground beef with some steak that I'd already cooked, and I reheated it. And I woke up at 3:30 in the morning with some indigestion. I didn't feel it, a little queasy, a little heartburn. And I used to have chronic heartburn before. And this is like one of the first times I've experienced it since I've been carnivore. And I think it's because I ate cooked meat late and then went to bed and was lying down.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was a minor thing, but when you don't have that anymore, and it comes back, you gotta start postulating what happened.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's interesting though. Oh my gosh. Where would you get good quality raw meat though? I'm kind
To
of
be perfectly honest with you, I buy most of it at Costco or Sam's Club.
Okay, because I mean, I hear different things. I hear some people get their meat from the farmer's market, some go to a butcher.
If you can. I mean, there's farmer's market right outside of where I work every Friday night, and I've never seen any meat for sale there. It's all vegetables and kettle corn. Train rides.
Oh my gosh. I think kettle corn would kill me. Like I think I would drop dead if I ate that.
And didn't we all just eat a bucket of popcorn at the movie theater with that vegetable oil, the butter substitute on it when we were kids? And we used to just all eat that stuff at the movies.
That's so crazy to me. Oh my gosh. I haven't eaten popcorn in so long, but
right.
I can't believe we all ate that regularly.
It's just a bunch of empty calories that just shred your intestines.
Oh my god!
All those little the little sharp pieces of the corn kernel going through you.
And your teeth. I remember you always get it in my teeth. Or sometimes you get stuck in the back of your throat and you can't reach it. Like, You feel like a cat with a hairball stuck in your throat.
Oh.
And the microwave popcorn is the worst because they put the palm oil in it. And there's actually a new
Oh.
disease that popped up from the workers that pack that stuff. There's
What?
something to do with the way that the palm oil is processed for the microwave popcorn. It causes
Oh.
some condition, and if you eat a lot of it, you could get it from the microwave palm oil. I have to look it up, but it was out in a couple of journals a few years back. So
Oh my
How am I
definitely,
not dead?
I
ate
don't
that
know.
microwave
There's so many
popcorn
things
like a
that could have
bag.
killed us.
Yeah.
Microwave popcorn, all the cup of noodles we probably ate in the dorms. You know, yeah. Now
So what?
everybody's worried that we're eating raw meat, and it's like, do you see the stuff we used to eat? We used to try pull our teeth out with now and later. So what are you talking about?
So what is, I don't know, just since we're talking about popcorn, and popcorn was like, oh man, that was my go-to. Netflix, a joint, popcorn, like that was the way to go back in the day. So like, what's your, like, that you hear from your clients, like, can't give that up food, like the number one
Oh,
maybe?
you know what it is? It's funny. It's not even any of that stuff. It's fruit.
Oh, I gotta have my
It's
fruit.
fruit. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like they're like, oh yeah, you know, candy stuff. Yeah, I get it. I can live off without that, but can I really not eat fruit? Like I cannot count how many times I've been asked that, you know? And it's just so fascinating that, you know, I realized that doing my work, I was like, wow, people really crave fruit. And I didn't realize we had cravings for fruit. And it's just interesting because, you know, you don't know that the sweetness of the fruit is actually causing you to be hungrier and like things like that. It was just like, wow.
Well,
So my,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so this happens a lot. So, but that's how you know we're unscripted, you know, just roll with it. So when I was a kid, I would literally eat like a bag of grapes until I got diarrhea, like over the summer,
Oh, geez
like
Louise.
for real. And then, you
Dang.
know, when I was gluten-free, dairy-free, my breakfast was an apple, a gluten-free waffle, which is like a blueberry waffle or something like that, and like a like pea protein shake. So yeah, and like fruit, you know, you think fruit is like good for you and stuff. And it's funny because I've been like texting a friend that I go to the gym with, and he knows I've been carnivore for a while, and he's been trying to lose weight, and he's like, I'm doing a salad every day, like one salad a day with my low fat dressing. What do you think, Justin? And I'm like, you know exactly what I think about that. But you know what? I just let you do you. And then so you know, we chat and stuff about it. And so today he's like, all right, I've been doing more research. I get it. I'm Chinese. I might have to give up my rice. You know, that's hard enough. He's like, but do I really have to give up fruit? You don't eat fruit. How come you don't eat fruit? You know what I mean? So what's your answer when they're like, so I'm going to send them this. So what's your answer? How come you should put down the fruit?
Well, my group, just to clarify, it's not carnivore. It's mostly focused on eating sugar-free. So I just mostly say that, you know, there are essential proteins, there are essential fats, but there are no essential like carbs. And, you know, it's not necessary. Like the nutrients you get from the fruit are things you could get probably more of in vegetables. So I just kind of pointed out like that. But some people do still have very strong cravings for it. So I would, like, in the beginning, it's okay to just probably eat like a lower sugar fruit like berries or whatnot. But yeah, like that's what I mostly say. Like you could have vegetables and they have like more nutrients than the fruit does. You know, it's not only like fruit's not the only healthy source of, you know.
Well, just, you know, it blows people's mind when you see a chart and it shows the nutrient density of just red meat, like your average piece of steak, and then you line it up with whatever blueberries, whole grains, whatever, and then the nutritional density of a piece of meat just smokes everything out, the entire plant world combined, you know. But we weren't taught that. That's the weird thing. It seems so counterintuitive, you know.
Right. And yeah, it's just scary for a lot of people. It's really like giving up your whole life when you're like, wait, fruit's not as healthy as I thought. It's like an identity crisis, you know?
Well, then you go down the rabbit hole and you tell them, like, have you ever seen a prehistoric banana? It's like that big. It's full of seeds. It wasn't
That's
sweet,
funny.
you know? And then it's like, you know, the Chiquita banana type stuff that we eat today is all a modern invention, you know?
Right.
Apples were like the, you know, like cherry size, and they were tart, you know? All this stuff is an invention. And I mean, you know, and it's, you know, I'm sure everybody to some degree can tolerate some of that. But then we know the problem that people have is it drives cravings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fruit, eating a little fruit may not be so bad, but if you can't, we all know, you know, the only diet that's going to work is the one you can stick to. And if you can't stick to it because you're eating a banana or some berries or something, you're just going to keep shooting yourself in the foot. You never meet your goals. That's the hard part.
Right. And I feel like sometimes the best way for the clients to learn that is to just go through it. And that's where it takes time because, you know, I think that's where they learn best. Like, you know, you could give them your recommendations, but when they see it for themselves, like how it actually like blocks them from their goals, then I think that's the most eye-opening thing. Or their lab tests aren't as great, or, you know, I think that's the most eye-opening thing. So, yeah, I mean, people have a lot of feelings about fruits. It's just interesting.
Yeah, no, I think we're like trained to learn to like them when we're young, fruits and vegetables. And then when you talk about giving them up, you know, it's like, what do you mean? I love fruits. I love vegetables. I love eating salad. I can't imagine giving them up. You know, I'll never poop again. What am I going to do? You know? And then you're like, well, perhaps this has been oversold. Perhaps all these things aren't quite as necessary as once thought. You know, it's a reach. I know I've got family members who think I'm just utterly insane. So,
Yeah.
of course, they went to college in the 50s. A lot's changed since then. So this wouldn't be the only new discovery, but, you know.
So do you get any pushback at work? Like, how is it? Like, do you see patients at work and you're like, this is the breakfast they're giving them, and it just like, you almost want to throw it away and like sneak food to people?
Oh gosh. Man, that's a hard question because I mean, we could have a whole conversation about the hospital food. It's just and also the fact that medications make you hungrier and make you gain weight, like your appetite is through the roof on antipsychotics and antidepressants. So it's really hard to coach people on food in the hospital because not only do they have a mental illness that they're not even really aware of, the only thing that helps them cope besides medication is food. So it's a whole different ball game with the food. So it's really hard to see it though. You know, it's hard to watch it because if you have a patient who is who has schizophrenia, but they're also on antipsychotics and they are also diabetic on dialysis and all that stuff, they have no insight in their illness. They think they're perfectly fine. So it's hard to coach that. But I definitely don't think we need ice cream in the unit or certain foods.
How about
Actually,
Jell-O? What's your feelings on Jell-O?
oh my gosh, it's so interesting. Like the patients with diabetes always like are in the fridge all the time, and so it's upsetting for a lot of nurses. They're like eating all the food that's supposed to be shared for everybody. So it's like it's a whole issue. But something that I think was helpful was we did manage to move the refrigerator in our unit to the Alzheimer's unit, and they don't really go to the fridge to get ice cream so much. So it's helped to decrease the ice cream intake in the adult unit. But yeah, I think we could at least
That's a good
eliminate yeah, like just don't put it there. But like I don't know, I just wish I wish there were like more meat and cheese like in the fridge rather than graham crackers, peanut butter, yogurt, bagels.
You know, speaking of graham crackers, you know, graham crackers, just like cornflakes, they're actually designed to suppress our libido. That's their whole point.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Where did you
Don't
hear
get him
that?
started.
The
Well,
Kellogg. I went to Cal Poly Pomona. You know where Cal Poly Pomona is?
Yeah.
That land was donated by the Kellogg's.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's just the exit from the 10 freeway says Kellogg Drive, and there's still a
Kellogg
Kellogg
Hill.
Mansion there, Kellogg this and everything. And when you go to school there and you live in the dorms, there's all the cereal in the cafeteria.
Oh
So
gosh.
they Harvey Kellogg was a Seventh-day Adventist, and he was actually a typesetter for the original the progenitor of the Seventh-day Adventist. So he learned all this as a young guy, and he took it into his doctoring as he became an adult. And he thought
because erections are sinful because of
Yeah.
lustful thoughts.
Libido is sinful, sex is sinful. So it's kind of a religious aspect. And the same thing, I forgot his name. Graham crackers are named after a guy who was a religious guy way back when, and he invented the graham cracker because that was healthy and wholesome and kept you from having evil thoughts, stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of those foods that we breakfast foods, I mean, graham crackers seem pretty innocuous, right? I mean, you would think, oh, they're full of fiber, they're not too much sugar in them, right? But actually now we know it's like, I wouldn't eat either one ever again, And then you find their origins are just so creepy and weird.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Fat, the documentary, not too long ago, and just learning about how veganism started. Like, I never knew the story, but I just did not know that was the story. I was like blown away. I was like, what?
Yeah, the Seventh-day Adventist was started by this Ellen G. White. When she's a little girl, she got hit in the face with a rock, went into a coma, and came out a prophet of God. And that's how it all started, And I don't go to that church. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
And that's how we got Kellogg cereal and so
Oh my gosh, and there's so much Kellogg in my hospital. Sorry, what were you saying?
For sure.
And they're pernicious through all of nutrition research. Like if you follow any big nutrition researcher, they're always a Seventh-day Adventist.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's super crazy. Yeah.
Gosh, that's something else, man.
So they're not driven by science. They're driven by ideology. Yeah, it's really intense.
Or religion.
But back to your hospital. What about the other employees? Did they look at you weird or like?
Gosh, that's a whole different conversation too. So literally, this is what happens. So when you're healthy in the hospital, it could be kind of isolating a little bit. Like, I'm just gonna be real. Like, you're like the only one that eats healthy. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, we just had a celebration on the unit because we had this successful visit from the Joint Commission, and they're like sending an email like pizza party time, and then I responded to the manager. I'm like, pizza? Like, really? But anyway, there's this whole culture of like junk food. Like, they prefer junk food over healthy food. Like, I remember I was planning Nurses Week one time, and I was in the committee to help plan that, and I was asking people, what kind of food do you want? And then some people told me healthy food. So I was like, okay, healthy food. And then when the day came and like, man, so many people are upset about the healthy food.
Where's the nachos and the pizza?
Yeah, they were mad. They were like actually legit, like frustrated.
Are we having donuts?
Yeah, it was like so upsetting. And then so what happens now is when I'm saying like, when I'm in the medication room, and I'm just waiting for people to get their meds, and they're talking about food, and they know I'm in the room, they'll see that I'm there, and then they'll stop talking. And it was so awkward. Like,
you're in their heads. You are so in their heads.
It was so weird. Like, they'll talk about, oh yeah, I had this, it was so good, and then they were like, oh Charmaine, and then they just stop talking, and it was just like so awkward. And I would just be like, I'm not judging, right? But yeah, it's just like interesting. And then everywhere I go, they'll have conversation, they'll talk about food, and then they see me, and then they just stop. Like it's happened multiple times.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah, I
So
had a client today that was so proud to tell me that he was 5 months vegan and that his whole family is like 5 months vegan. And like, I think my face just went dead. You know what I mean? Like
oh no.
completely
Oh,
flat
no.
affect. You know what I mean? And so he's probably used to like telling
Oh.
that to people, then being like, "Oh, good job, wow, that's," you know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
think I just glossed right over it. I'm like, bit too early. I haven't really had that many sessions with you. I don't think I can like, tell you I'm carnivore yet, but I'll back pocket that for a second. Yeah,
This is a whole nother conversation.
right, totally. And then, yeah, that's a big problem I see is so many unhealthy therapists. Like, how can you help when you're, so many people in the field are also on antidepressants, medication, diabetes medication,
Yeah.
have diabetes. And it's like, you need help. How are you helping these other people? It's like, all you know is to take people down the same road that you've gone. Like, that's what I believe, And unless you're willing to take a separate path, how can you show clients or other people how to take a separate path?
Well, that's where I actually, that's a great question because that's where I got the name of my brand to begin with, because the name of my brand is Sugar Free Self Care. And I literally got the idea of it because I was on Instagram one day and I was looking at this nurse's Instagram, and she posted like a Starbucks like unicorn frappuccino drink or something. And then she put just like hashtag treat yourself, hashtag self-care. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so interesting that people think that eating sugar is self-care. So I was kind of like, my purpose is helping my clients find self-care in ways that aren't related to food and trying to help them see that sugar isn't actually self-care. It's just like this dopamine hit that's just like instant gratification. It's like an artificial, I say it's an artificial pleasure, but it's not like it's not true well-being. It's just this, temporary, like external source of pleasure that can only last for so long. So I teach them how to create a true state of well-being for themselves by just thinking about themselves differently, approaching their situations differently, so they eliminate the stress that caused whatever drove them to eat to begin with. So it's really about that, like, what's the reason that you're eating this? Like, why are you stressed? And how can you solve that stress without food? Like, solve the actual problem. So you're a problem solver, not like you're not focused on the problem and just trying to avoid it. You're actually solving the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that unicorn frappuccino is basically speedballing, with heroin and or cocaine and heroin. That's essentially what it is.
Right,
And
but
it's like,
they think it's a reward or a treat,
Yeah.
well, so is to the addict that worked really hard for his cocaine and heroin,
Yeah.
A big dose of caffeine with a load of sugar, right? Yeah, we used to all be there though, right?
Yeah, I used to have wine. Like, I would remember so clearly, like, man, like nursing, it's not an easy job. Like, it's not for the faint of heart at all. Like,
Seems a little messy sometimes.
just a little bit. Like, but yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. And if you don't know how to manage your stress, you are not going to make it. I mean, you could muscle your way through it with with sugar and processed foods, but then the illnesses and stuff will catch up with you, and your joint pain will come, and
Yeah.
pain's a whole nother thing, but yeah, that's what I teach though. Take care of yourself without food and solve the root cause of it.
So since you were a CrossFit nurse, did they make you do all the heavy lifting? Do you have to flip all the patients? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they knew it. They're like, oh, you're strong, and I would actually be excited about it though. I don't mind it because I do like lifting. Yeah.
I could bench press that kid.
Oh man, I'm trying to lift. Like, I'm getting back to lifting more consistently again though, so I can't wait to get my numbers up again.
I'm already a fan.
Oh, we can lift together sometime. Can we lift? That'd be fun.
Absolutely. There's nothing I love more than lifting. It's my
Mhm.
favorite. I realize there's not much point to it, but I just love doing it. So, yep. Deadlifts, squats. I was doing bent over rows and overhead presses today. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah. In fact, I was going to do a Instagram post because I was doing shrugs with 90-pound dumbbells, and I was like, when somebody cuts you off in traffic, just shrug it off. I like to make a lot of jokes about traffic because I spend half my life in it. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you see a little traffic where you live too, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm in Culver City, so,
Okay.
because I'm close to UCLA. But yeah. But thankfully, I moved here to Culver City before I was in Diamond Bar, and that was not a fun commute.
That's Justin's neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
where
in
are
Diamond
you?
Bar. Diamond Bar.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're in Diamond Bar?
Mhm.
Oh, my God.
Essentially.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. I grew up there. Oh, my gosh. My whole life is in the Diamond Bar. That's so interesting.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, I still live in Diamond Bar kind of too because I went to Cal Poly. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to school in Pomona. I went to St. Joseph, the
Oh, okay.
Catholic school in
Okay.
Pomona. But yeah. Oh, wow. You guys were near me. Wow. That's
I actually live in Eastvale, but nobody knows where Eastvale is. So that's kind of near Corona, sort of.
Yeah.
It's north of Corona, which is
Yeah.
actually it's north of Norco, which is north of Corona. But
I smell
Yeah.
a meetup. In and
yeah,
out, the
yeah.
three
We'll
of
have to
us.
go. We'll have to
Woo!
go out and slam some steak one of these days. Hit the Korean
Yeah.
barbecue. In fact,
Oh,
Justin and I hit the Korean barbecue on the way home from Adapt Long Beach.
oh, fun.
Yeah, we put away 10 plates of meat.
Oh, dang.
He actually can eat more than I can, and he's literally half my size.
Oh, my gosh. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I'm trying to start the sport of carnivore competitive eating.
Oh, dang.
He's ambitious.
Wow, you're on your way.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So what kind of food is working for you? What's your typical day like?
So right now it's mostly carnivore. Like, lately my boyfriend and I, we just make a lot of slow cooked meat right now, just like beef chuck roast, pork roast, and so I just only eat that because we're very lazy cooks. I do not like anything complicated. And then just scrambled eggs, like 5, and then butter. I use some avocado oil mayo, and then I'm still eating some avocado. That's the only plant I'm eating.
We're from
but,
Southern
like,
California. I mean, how do you ever really stop eating avocado completely?
it's so good. I think my only hesitation is because I did like a strict carnivore for 9 days, but yeah, the bowel situation, I was like not ready for that, and I guess I got really traumatized and scared as a nurse because everybody I take care of has constipation, and I've helped people with constipation, and I was just really afraid
Put
for
on
myself.
a glove.
but it's just the stories with bowels. But anyway, but yeah. So I guess that was a part I was kind of like not prepared for. Like, do you guys have any recommendations for that?
I tell people when I coach people, just, ease off of what you're used to eating. So, maybe like, cause in the very beginning, I tell people like, well, if you've never been carnivore, just try one meal. That's all meat. Right. See how that goes. And then, maybe try one day. That's all meat, see how it goes. But for the most part, I just tell them to taper off. And that tends to avoid one of the 3 possibilities. You can either get diarrhea, you can be completely normal, or you can get constipated. And typically we see diarrhea more. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But what happens when you stop eating fiber is, when you eat fiber regularly, a lot of nutrients and water gets passed with the fiber. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you stop eating fiber, you have more liquid in your bowels. And your colon's not used to absorbing it at that rate because it hasn't had to, because a lot of it's passing through you with the fiber. So there's more water in your stool. and your colon needs some time to get used to absorbing the liquid faster. And then the other thing is not everybody can digest a lot of animal fat at one time because they never ate a lot of animal fat at one time. Or if they did, they got diarrhea. So they didn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I remember people telling me, "Oh yeah, I bought some Costco burgers and they're kind of fatty, and man, they gave me the shits," you know. And it's like, well, people aren't used to eating that much fat. But when you get used to absorbing that fat, particularly, you know, most of that's absorbed in the small intestine. So if you've got enough bile and stuff like that, most of that stuff will get absorbed pretty quickly, and it's not a problem. But if you just up your dose of fat uh, and you don't have any fiber, you're probably going to get diarrhea from some of that fat just going through you and having more liquid, more water in your stool. So that tends to be the more common problem, but people usually get over it, and it's usually not like uncontrollable or something. They just notice they have really loose stool, or you know, it's kind of diarrhea like. And then sometimes people don't actually get constipated, but they stop pooping regularly because they're eating so much less volume, and so much of the meat
Mm.
and the fat is actually absorbed. There's very little going through them, and so they're like, and
Oh,
you're like,
okay.
oh, well, do you feel like you're blocked up and you can't go and it's painful or something? Or like, no, I just don't have to go. And I'm like, well, that's not constipation. That's the fact that you don't have to go. So some people go less frequently in the beginning, and some
Mm.
people get more regular. But like they did a survey, and I think the average was like 1.2 times a day for established carnivores. So it's a relatively normal rate for people. But the colon probably tends to shrink too with time because there's less waste accumulating in the colon, so it needs less space, and that's why since the colon and the large intestine are doing a lot less work, that so a lot of people see a reversal of diverticulosis, diverticulitis, you know, and various bowel diseases. So a lot of people find their bowel their inflammatory bowel diseases go away, which is the number one risk for bowel cancer, right?
Mm.
It's much
Mm-hmm.
higher than almost anything else you can think of, is just having those inflammatory diseases. So we think that the lower bowel just gets a lot more of a break, just has to do less work. And that is the source of a lot of people's problems, that lower bowel is overworked and irritated by things like fiber.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, seems to be the case anyways.
Well, that helps me feel better about it though, because I think maybe what happened for me, I think maybe I just transitioned too fast because when I
Mm-hmm.
was keto, I was
Because you're
eating like a
hardcore.
big, huh?
Because you're
Oh yeah,
hardcore.
yeah. I tend to just go all in, like
Mm-hmm.
completely, like 100%.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, carnivore's awesome, and then I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but then I got plugged up, but because I was eating like a big bowl of salad before with like
Mm-hmm.
cucumbers and carrots and avocado,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went from this big bowl to like 0. So yeah, but I think okay, but that helps me feel better though.
Yep.
So I'm just curious, are the goals of your clients to get them keto-ish, let them choose, different for each client?
Yeah, it's really individualized. Like they mostly come to. I mean, if you go to someone called Sugar Free Self Care, I would think
Mm-hmm.
you'd have at least an interest in like not eating sugar. So that's the most important thing. I try to get people to like not have sugar or flour. Like that's like the number one thing
Yeah.
because most of them want to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I tell them to cut that out, and then if they want to do, sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
I just like,
Use,
stop it. Like,
I
use,
know.
get
yeah.
them to cut it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Put
seriously.
that
Like
bagel down.
stop it.
Yeah.
I just smack them. Stop.
Stop.
And then like with the carbs though, I have recommendations. Like I just say to eat certain carbs like non-starchy vegetables. I don't really have too much limit with that, but like starchy vegetables I really recommend to like, eat it sparingly. And then, but I really try to emphasize the most important thing I emphasize is every meal should have protein, veggies, and healthy fat. And then, yeah, and then that's it. Just like protein, veggie, fat. Um, yeah, and if they want carbs or something, we just come up with a planned for that. But yeah.
Excellent. Sounds like a winner.
Awesome.
Well, it's been really good getting to know you. Is there anything else you didn't get a chance to talk about that you want to tell us about?
So I have my website if you guys are interested in learning more about what
Sure.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the time for that, but
Sure.
but yes. So my website is sugarfreeselfcare.com. I have a free meal prep course there. So if you're completely like interested in, going off sugar, if you know people who are interested but don't know where to start with the meal prep, I have like a intro course there and free guides and things like that. And then my Instagram, that's where I'm at, instagram.com/sugarfree.selfcare. But yeah, and just one thing I want to leave people with is like it, if you want to like change your habits, it's really just about being consistent with it and being willing to I think being willing to be open to learning and really learning the why behind what you do so you could make permanent change. Because if you're only trying to change on like actions and you're just trying to find the best diet or whatnot, you'll never make it sustainable. Like you always have to find out the why, and then that can help to
We
make
do
it
need a
actually.
why for a lot of things, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. You got to help people change their relationship with food. And sometimes that comes from just a better understanding. Sometimes you got to let them go down the rabbit hole,
Right.
Yeah. So, well, it's
I
been
think
great.
it was Nietzsche that said, with a why we can endure anyhow, if I remember right.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Justin's good for pulling out those deep thoughts.
They're very good. I like them.
Well, I guess we're kind of getting to the end here, but you're always welcome back. And maybe you want to do another video with us when we got the rest of the gang here. There's usually like 4 or 5 of us on here at least. So sometimes 6 or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but we kind of just wanted to feature you this time so get to know you. So, and it's everybody's in a different time zone, so it gets complicated. Except us, we're all Pacific Standard Time. So this was awesome, and I know this is a little later than you wanted to do it, but I was glad we got to get this one done. So because we're excited about meeting you. We heard you asking your questions at the Adapt Long Beach. We're like, yeah, we should talk to her. She's on the same page with us. So I think because, a lot of people in this crowd are probably new to the idea, they went there to learn, and they're, just beginning, but, you obviously have some experience with this and stuff like that. So we're like, yeah, let's see if we can find her. And so we found you, and here you are. And we're
yeah,
glad
you guys
we got
are
to
like
talk to you.
But thank you so much for reaching out. Like, I think, I mean, this was honestly like my first kind of like keto conference sort of experience in Los Angeles. I feel like it's hard to find events like that around here. So I'm glad that I went and that I met people who are creating communities like this, like you guys. So it's just very nice. Like it's very like supportive because when you're going the keto, like from keto to carnivore, it's like it's such a different mindset. So it's interesting. Like, so I really appreciate that support.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Every time you go you find somebody going carnivore, they have to leave their keto baggage at the door. Stop counting macros.
Yeah, it's so different, but I just love it. It's so simple, and I'm like the laziest cook ever, so I'm just like, gosh, this is perfect for me.
Well,
and
you're gonna love raw meat then, because there's you just cut it up and eat it. You don't even forks aren't even required. You can just use your fingers.
Oh my god. But yeah, oh man, that one. Ooh, maybe we could have like a meetup sometime where it's raw, and I could have my first like experience with that. That'd be interesting.
Well, it's not really necessary. It's just that a lot of us kind of gradually went that way, and then you find out lots of people do it. People around the world eat raw meat. They eat fresh animals, you know, I don't know if you've seen like the Inuits bring in a seal and just the whole family's just like, it's
I
going.
kind of want to watch a video, but no, I
Oh, they're
didn't
on
know they.
YouTube. Yeah. Even Anthony Bourdain. Do you remember Anthony Bourdain?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's an episode where he's with an Inuit family and they bring in a seal and they're just going to town on this raw seal on the kitchen floor. Just
Oh,
grandma's over there just stuffing her face and the whole family's getting in on it.
oh my God, that is like amazing. I'm like so
Yeah.
curious. I wonder if like Filipino tribes were like that, and any like I'm curious to look up if there's any like Filipino tribe that did that. I'm thinking,
I would imagine so.
yeah.
They don't all eat chicken adobo all the time.
Yeah, I guess not.
Well,
So we also run a Facebook group called Center of Brilliance, and we do like a
I
weekly.
think I added her already.
Oh yeah,
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
We do meetings just to support that group once a week.
Oh,
Emily
sweet.
usually schedules it so you can hop on. And I've got one planned for autistic carnivores, which I think is Friday at like 9 a.m. So, but they'll come
Anyone
up
could
again.
join though, even though I don't have a family member that's
Yeah.
autistic.
Yeah, we you know, because we have lots of clinicians, and there's you'd be surprised if you went through the people that are in there. It's everything from doctors to nurses, clinicians, parents with autistic children, you know, aunts, uncles, you know, people working on their dissertations, you know. So I let just about everybody in because I'm the king troll. I just throw out whoever I don't like. So. But yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome in there. I mean, I'm sure there's other psychiatric nurses in there as well. So we even have a comedian besides me. Well,
Oh, sweet.
yeah. So no, you're welcome. And a lot of it's just people have questions, you know. So autistic people do not interact, you know, a lot typically on average. So doing it online is kind of like, you know, being part of an online community is about as much contact as a lot of them get on a regular basis. You know, they tend to be very reclusive, especially adults. There's not a lot of services out there for adults, autistic adults, period. You know, it's a lot now for kids, fortunately, but not a lot for adults. So Facebook groups is where they tend to find a community. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And I could bring back what I learned to the hospital because honestly, managing patients with autism is a huge challenge, especially when they're hospitalized. They get very aggressive. So that would be really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not always easy to get along with. I know so well. So, yes. So anyways, I guess we better wrap this up. We're all talk forever. But it was great. It really was nice meeting you, and I'm looking forward to talking to you some more, and definitely see you online and everything else, and maybe we'll make some more videos together. So I'm going to thank everybody for watching. I'm going to thank you for coming on and sharing your time and your story with us. I love collecting people's stories and sharing them with all the people out there. So if you guys enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. See if you have any questions. If you have any questions for Charmaine, we'll pass them on to her because I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them. And you guys can come join us at Autistic Carnivores and Center of Brilliance, and the Ketogenic Fasting Project, and on and on and on. There's lots of places to find us. So thanks again, everybody, for watching.